once again to Mondays with Marty. My name's Cassie and this is my dog Marty, and today we're actually going to be talking about exercise. So exercise is super important for all dogs, all ages, all breeds. The big differentiator between those groups though is quantity and type, but it's still really important to keep your dogs active and moving through their whole lives. It'll keep them healthier and it will increase their longevity, so they'll live longer, at least on average. But where there's some difficulties determining how much exercise to give your dog. Puppies, for example, need short bursts of high activity. So they come up really high and then they crash. So they'll need short bursts of high activity and then they'll take a nap in between. Dogs that are Marty's age, so he's 3, they can handle quite a bit more activity compared to puppies or older dogs. Between and this is just rough guesstimation from experience, between 3 and 7, most dogs are kind of at peak fitness level. Again, we're working on a bell curve, so it's on average. But within those ages, generally that's when the dog's going to just be able to handle the most activity. They're fully grown and they're generally going to be healthy. So, and then when they're senior dogs, that's when the drive for activity really goes down, but it's still important to keep them moving. My mom, for example, has a Jack Russell Terrier who's about 14. He doesn't see very well, he doesn't hear very well, but it's still, we'll still take him out for walks just out to the barn and back, just to keep him moving, keep his joints going, kind of loosen him up a little bit, because perfect example, an object that's at rest wants to stay at rest. An object that keeps moving wants to keep moving. So if you kind of keep those dogs moving, they're gonna be a lot healthier, they'll feel a lot better. So it's important to kind of keep them moving, even if, volume is way down. It's still good to get them out and about. When it comes to breeds, just look at what the purpose of the breed, why the breed was developed. So Marty, for example, is an Australian Shepherd, and they were developed to work livestock out on the range for long periods of time. So he needed to be able to go all day. So Marty is a super active dog, and that's also why I picked the breed, because I really like to trail run. So great running partner. He'll go with me forever, he loves it, and he wants to stay close. That being said, I also know that I have to be able to maintain that activity level for him. So not only do we trail run, but I also have him doing agility. If I know I won't be able to get in a good run, I'll take him over to my parents' farm just to kind of let him get out and stretch his legs, because he needs that type of activity. A dog like a bulldog, where they are brachiocephalic, so their noses are very short. They don't need nearly the exercise that Marty does, because they aren't going to be able to take in oxygen like he does because of the head shape, but also they just structurally aren't made to go long distances for long times. That being said, they should still be able to, you should still take them on walks and get them out in your yard, or you could take them on short hikes. With them, you really need to think about temperature, but it's still good for them to get out and about. So looking at breeds, and this also applies to mixed breed dogs, it's really helpful if you know what breeds are in your mixed breed dog, but even just looking at their structure. So a dog that is kind of a moderate frame, so stand. So looking at a dog that's kind of similar frame to Marty, where he's pretty well balanced, his back's not too long for his legs aren't too long for his body, he's pretty well balanced. A dog that's structured like that's going to be able to go pretty comfortably for long periods of time. Straight legs are important, good joints. A dog that, if you have a dog that you adopted and you don't know their genetics and their back, so they're hocks, if his legs are pretty straight in the back, but if this bone and this bone were touching each other, it wouldn't be the best to run them long distances, because that's going to put a lot of pressure on those or if you have a dog that has a super long back and short legs, they aren't going to be able to go for the same duration of time just because it's going to be harder on their backs. So looking at their structure is a great way to kind of say, okay, well, kind of how much exercise does my dog need, at least in terms of just, you know, physical movement. Now, exercise isn't just physical, it's also mental. So dachshunds, for example, they do have long backs and short little legs, so if you take them over, you know, a 5 to 10 mile run, it could get pretty hard on their backs. However, they're hunting dogs. You know, they were bred to go into holes and hunt rats. So they would be really good to take on short hikes and runs and then do some scent work with them. To take something that's really smelly, a tasty, smelly treat, and go hide it in your living room and let them go find it. So exercise doesn't always have to just be physical. The best form of exercise is where you can combine mental and physical stimulation. That's why, you know, for dogs, walking them in the same square block in your neighborhood or the same mile route up and down the sidewalk just isn't always going to do it for them. It's good to get them out on trails where they can smell new smells, look at animals as they run by, hear different things, and go variable rates. They go up hills, down hills, jump over logs, you know, anything you can do to kind of activate some different muscle groups and get your dog's brain going is going to be good for them. Swimming's really great, so we have a lot of state parks near bodies of water, so even getting your dog out in the water. And they don't even have to physically swim, just kind of walking through the water is good for them. If you can't get them outside, which on rainy days, most of us don't want to go out, some of us do. Marty loves being out in the rain and snow and sleet, but not all of us like to be out in the weather. There's also lots of indoor activities you can do to exercise your dog. Kong has some puzzle feeders that you can put their dinner in and they can roll all around the floor, and that'll get them going, and they try and figure out how to get their food out, so both mental and physical exercise. You can also play some retrieval games, which I've talked about in a couple of these classes, but one of them is orientation game, where you kind of get them running from one side of the room to the other. So whenever I train Marty on a rainy day, we'll play a lot of this game because, as you can see, he gets to running, he has to stop, he changes direction, he comes back. You know, where'd he come? That's a good one. Catch me if you can. So you throw a piece of kibble out, and then you run away and have him run up and chase you. That gets him going. It also gets you going. So catch me if you can will wear you out too, whereas orientation just kind of, you can stand still and they get to move. But also just playing with your dog inside. You know, getting a toy, do some good tug time with them. That, you know, if you do this for like 20 minutes and do some chasing and, you know, really get them going and then give them the opportunity to calm down, that's going to be pretty good exercise for them. And the great thing about all of the exercises we've mentioned, minus the puzzle feeder, is that it's really going to improve the bond you have with your dog. Dogs like doing stuff with you, they like experiencing new stuff with you, and they like having a good time. So if you start kind of making that a routine with your dog, they're going to just love you that much more, which is also a bonus because they're going to be far more inclined to listen to you if they think you're a super fun person. Don't get me wrong, dogs do like to just hang out in their houses with us, but if you can take them out on fun adventures, they're gonna love you that much more. So definitely a big advocate for exercising your dogs. Plus, it's a great way to kind of stave off obesity, some breeds are prone to. So if you implement some routine exercise, that helps with that. When you are first kind of getting into introducing your dogs to exercise, make sure you take it slow. Just like people, you can't go from a couch to a half marathon in a day. Dogs are the same way, but definitely recommend exercising. As we like to say in our house, a tired dog is a good dog. They're much more prone to coming in and just laying on their beds when we want to sit on the couch and watch TV if they've had lots of exercise during the day. So once again, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or need some ideas, feel free to drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And if not, we'll catch you again in a couple weeks.